Everybody. Yep, we're going to talk about fructose today. Let me say welcome in, and I'm glad you're here. I hope that you get some information that you can use and make up your own mind. Look, I don't want you to think that you need to think or believe the same way I do. I'm just trying to bring information because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I just am trying to break it down so we all can understand our health and get it back because most of us are suffering, and if you're like I was, you're tired of getting um, no answers or getting sicker and yet being tossed medications and whatnot. And nobody's really telling you what's going on. So we're going to dive into that today. Good morning, Ro. Everything this morning is about fructose. I'm going to tell you, there is no way that I can tell you everything about fructose and all the little pieces about it in this little 1 hour section that I talk. So we're going to dive in. I want to go over a number of things with fructose. It is a sugar. It is not as good for you as you think. Is it going to cause the end of the world if you eat fruit? No. Let's be clear. Fruits, I still believe, are good for you. But as I've always said, in moderation, they should not be the bulk of your diet. And yet we see a number of people feeling like they're doing better with fructose. It's interesting. I heard my daughter-in-law talk yesterday because she gave my grandson fruit juice, and I just bit my tongue and said, once in a while is not going to hurt him. Please, let's not do this all the time. And I'll have a conversation with her about it when he's not around. She gets frustrated because, yeah, Nana keeps pointing out all this stuff because I want my grandchildren to be healthy. Do I contribute to some of the bad stuff sometimes? Yes, I admit I do. But fruit juice is one thing that I've learned to just stay away from. Child, adult, it's not something we need. And we're going to go over why and what's happening with fruit here in a minute. But first, I want you to understand there are different forms of sugars in our foods. So we have sucrose, we have fructose, and we have glucose. Well, sucrose really is half fructose. Do you know that? Your table sugar is actually half fructose. Sucrose, which is what's making up your table sugar, is one molecule of fructose and one molecule of glucose. Why does this even matter? Well, let's talk about all of this right now. So, glucose is a form of energy for your system. So when you're eating foods, even the root vegetables and stuff that I caution to be careful with as well, they're turning into glucose in your system. Now, that glucose can be utilized by every single cell in your body as energy. So, a pomme de terre, an apple of the earth, or an apple, so a potato or an apple, which is probably going to cause you less problems overall, the potato. The potato. We're going to find out why. So, glucose can be used, as I was saying, by every cell of the body as energy, and that's really what we're eating for. Whereas fructose is not utilized by the cells of your body. There's a couple of places that fructose is used. One of them is the liver. It's one of the only places that can metabolize fructose. And how the liver metabolizes fructose is it converts it into fat. And if you've been with me when we talked about fatty liver and gallbladder disease, we know that the reason we have this increase of non-alcoholic fatty liver, this is not about fatty liver today, but it is about fructose. One of the biggest drivers for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is this sugar called fructose that's not giving your body energy. In fact, a lot of fruits are not spiking your your glucose, so it's not showing up on the glycemic scale. Fruits low. Let me get my words together. Fruits show lower on the glycemic scale, not because they have less sugar in them, because they're not spiking the glucose in your body. So they can artificially show lower, even though there's a great amount of sugar in them. We've always said, and I've always said that they were lower because they're so wrapped in fiber. Well, that's part of it. But the fructose is not spiking your insulin. What? She just said fructose doesn't spike your insulin. Oh my heck, that's true. Fructose is not spiking your insulin. So then why do I talk about fructose all the time and how damaging it can be? Well, because it has other pathways that it's causing insulin resistance. I have to go to my notes for some of that, but we're going to talk about all of that in a minute. So both fructose and glucose are sugars. They are monosaccharides, and the chemical formula for them, fructose and glucose, the chemical formula is exactly the same. Okay. So then why is fructose so bad? Because molecularly, those same molecules are structured differently in fructose than in glucose. So it's not just about the formula, it's about how it's put together that makes the difference. And this is where we start to get into problems with fructose. So glucose, like I said, is your primary source of energy for your cells. Glucose will raise your blood sugars. Glucose will elicit an insulin response, increasing your insulin. And by increasing your insulin too much, too often, it's shutting the cell's reception to the insulin and that energy down. Now, fructose acts a little bit differently than that. So fructose isn't spiking your insulin, but it's messing with pathways to allow the insulin, which is carrying the energy into the cells. So fructose is damaging those pathways and saying, not today. You don't get to bring that glucose into the cell today. I know you're hungry for energy, but you can't have it. That's what fructose does. So it's very, very different from glucose. Good morning, Jamie. So when we take a look at those, that's the basic understanding of why fructose is so bad for your insulin resistance. Not that it's spiking your insulin, it's not causing you to create more, but it's shutting down your cells' receptivity to the insulin, thereby making you more insulin resistant. Reducing the fructose load in your body can help you become more insulin sensitive. Adding fiber to the fructose so that it's not causing as much damage can actually help with your insulin sensitivity to those. So when we don't have fiber attached to the fructose, now it just has free reign, but there's a number of other things going on with fructose. When you're having these fruit juices and fruit smoothies, which are basically breaking down the fibers in the plants or the fruits, you're allowing that fructose to get to your system quicker. So if it's not going to your cells, where does it go? It's going directly to that liver. So 90% of it is going to go to your liver. What does your liver do with it? Your liver converts it into fats or triglycerides. Your liver can only have about 5 or 10% of its total weight as fat before it starts to get to be a problem. When you start to have more fat than that 5 to 10%, now you're looking at something called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And by the way, I'm going to pause for a second. This is so serious. It's why I talk about it. I got messages from people who are like, my husband, my father, my brother died from this disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So Mr. Jamie is in here and he has an amazing story. Let's pause for a second because this is all relevant. So Jamie says he was type 2 diabetic and 50 pounds overweight until he found the system. Thank you, Jamie. And the system is guaranteed. So we're going to be talking about that system in a minute that's helping you with, even when you do eat fruits, that it's helping slow down this whole process. And that's part of why it's happening. So many people like myself have overcome diabetes, hypertension, liver damage, all of the stuff that I talk about by addressing their insulin resistance. And that really is the core piece of this. So Timothy, hello, I just found out you were born with one kidney. Should you worry about something? I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose, but I'm going to tell you, Trophy. If I had one kidney, I would be very careful about the sugars I eat and keeping my insulin resistance under control. And we're going to talk about it in a little bit because it seems like it's harder and harder to control our sugars and this thing called insulin resistance in today's environment. And one of the things that we can do is to just replace what the food industry has stripped out. And that helps address insulin resistance. And it's all in the protocol I use. By the way, I have a tea here in this jug. But I wanted to show you guys this tea I'm going to talk about that's going to help with all of this stuff is right here. So this is a simple, I thought I brought another one. I did. So I'm going to mix up, this is lemon ginger. So I'm just going to tear the top off. I usually use more water than this, but you'll receive a bottle like this I just put it in just like that. Super simple. Didn't have to steep anything. Didn't have to wait 10 minutes for anything. Just put water in a bottle, shake it up. Here's my tea that I'm going to have this morning. Mental energy, clarity, antioxidant, anti-inflammation properties, a number of properties that are great for your health, like complete vitamin mineral panel in here. So many things we'll talk about in a minute, but I need my tea right now. We're going to get to that. The second part of it, you guys watch me do this most mornings. I love to do this even when I'm not eating. I will do the fiber because I'm such a big believer in fiber and all the amazing things it's done for my gut. We're going to pause for a second because I really just want to get this in. Another thing I want to pause because as I was going through messages this morning, somebody said there's no way you could have had a blood pressure of 180 over 150. That would definitely cause some heart damage. Have I ever said that it didn't damage my heart? I have not. I have not been very vocal about it because that's very personal. But the truth is, I've been struggling with a heart that just doesn't work like it should because of those years of hypertension. Now, both the tea and this have helped with my heart rate and are helping me heal up a heart that was severely damaged by all of that insulin resistance. Part of it happened because back in the day, I believed the lie that fructose or fruit juice was good for you. Yeah, there's a lot of vitamins and minerals and polyphenols and all that, but there's better ways to get that than just drinking fruit juice. This is what's helping me reverse all the damage from all the misinformation over the years. Super simple, same thing. Mixed it up. This is about as much water as I use for the fiber. And that's that. We'll take a look at that bottle in a minute because you're going to see the action of the fiber. Why do I drink it when I'm not eating? Because for me, in my instance, it helps me with the acids in my stomach. It helps calm all of that down. By the way, I do have a lot of stomach pain because my heart is weak. So gastrointestinal issues, constant heartburn type feeling in your gut is a symptom of this heart that's not functioning properly. This helps calm down some of the pain from that gut that's hurting from all of that heart issue. And we're going to link back to fructose again now, okay? So those are what I've done. That's it, you guys. That's it. If you're really interested in it, let me know. We're going to talk about all of it in a minute. I'm going to explain why they're working. But know that this is what got me off of 13 medications and turned my health around. And that's it. And got my blood pressure normalized. My blood pressure is normally about 112 over 74 in the mornings. There's days where it spikes, of course, if I'm not sleeping or whatever. Okay, back to fructose. So with the fructose, the place that it's going to is the liver. Okay, we talked about that. 5 to 10% of your liver can be fat, and that's about it. But studies have shown that when people are eating high amounts of fructose, they're getting excess fat in the liver. And when that fat becomes about a half a pound, which you're not going to notice when you step on the scale, because and when you look in the mirror, because the subcutaneous fat, the fat that's jiggly and white, isn't being as impacted by fructose. The liver fat is being impacted. So you're going to look in the mirror and you're not going to see that fat. You're not going to know that, oh my gosh, my liver is sick and struggling. But your liver is sick and struggling when it reaches about a half a pound of fat in there. Now, fructose cues this whole visceral fat storage as well. So it's storing in your liver, and as a result, you're getting more and more visceral fat. What's visceral fat? It's the fat in and under the muscle wall of your stomach, but it can lead up into your throat and in your tongue and cause a condition called fatty tongue, which is very highly linked to sleep apnea. Fructose causing all of this because we're overusing fructose. I'm going to be careful now and say it's not that you have an apple once in a while or you have some of my favorite fruits, berries or pears, and that's going to cause you non-alcoholic fatty liver. No, it won't. Those are actually healthy for you. But we're overusing those foods. And anytime we overuse anything, we start to get sick from it. We're just not built for it. So, Now, I said about 90% in your liver, right? So where's the other 10% go? Directly to your small intestine. And what does your small intestine do with it? Well, pretty similar to what your liver does. It creates triglycerides and makes your small intestine fatty. Now, your small intestine is laden with these triglycerides that are causing it to not be able to function properly. And you're starting to have a lot of gastrointestinal issues, starting from that small intestine attached to your gut, your stomach. Okay. But the other thing that's happening is I just lost it. We're talking about the small intestine. Yes. Okay. Yes. That's it. So, although the fructose doesn't give you, see, I have to have talks with myself all the time, you guys. The fructose that we're eating doesn't feed the energy in your body, but you know what it is feeding besides triglycerides? It's feeding the negative gut bacteria. So this comes back to the talk I had with my daughter-in-law when she gave my grandson the fruit juice. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she kept saying, because he has a fat metabolizing DNA disorder. So we have to be very careful with him. She kept saying, buddy, you can only have fruit juice every once in a while. Otherwise, you're going to have diarrhea and it's going to go straight through you. Do you know why you're getting diarrhea with it? Well, there's the small intestine problem, right? But then that fructose, although it's not feeding you, it's feeding your bad gut bacteria. Now your gut is getting inflamed and you're starting to have diarrhea and gas and bloating and all of that from too much fructose. Why do you have diarrhea when you eat too much fruit? Well, your body can't process it anywhere else, and you're feeding your gut negative gut bacteria when you're eating excessive amounts of fruit. That's really important. So there's a bunch of messages. Let's come down here and see what's going on. And you guys, if I missed your message, please restate it. I will get to it as quickly as I can. And I want to stay on track, although I do take side steps every once in a while. All right. So Melba says fructose is very bad. Are they coming out with green apple? Are they coming out with green apple? I don't know, hun. I would love, so we've had different flavors of the tea and the fiber, and they've been testing them, and I would love, love, love. Look, I spilt some tea on my shirt. Whatever. I would love to know that they're coming. I loved the green apple flavor for the fiber. That was my very favorite one. And actually, the apple spice for the tea is amazing. I'm brokenhearted that I didn't stock up on it when it was out. I actually, Melba, mixed the spiced apple with our green matcha, which we have a new formulation of green matcha out, our matcha energy, and I mixed the two together called the Una Matcha Bomb. Amazing for metabolism and energy. But I will get those answers for you as soon as I can, but I have no idea what they're doing with that. I know they've tested some flavors. I would love for them to put them in production full time, though. I agree. Okay, so back to this side. All right, so fructose, liver, small intestine, causing negative gut bacteria problems, and a number of other things. I hope you understand the difference, a little bit of difference between fructose and glucose. Pretty simple. Fructose and glucose, same molecular structure or same molecular signature, chemical signature, different molecular structure. One gets used by energy as the body, the other does not. So the fructose is the one that's not giving your body energy. In fact, one of the crazy things with fructose is, do you know that high amounts of fructose can actually make you more hungry? Because fructose impede your satiety hormones, so you're just not ever feeling full. Have you ever noticed when you drink a fruit smoothie or fruit juice, all of a sudden, a half an hour later, you're still hungry? So you go out and you find more stuff, and you're like, well, I'm going to eat healthy, so I'm having that fruit bowl, I'm having whatever, a banana, and you're still hungry. And you, if you're like me, you're thinking, oh, well, it's because I gave my body all the sugar and, the insulin thing and blah, blah. And no, it's not true. It's actually not getting utilized as energy. So you're giving your body fuel that it can't use except for to make triglycerides and cause fatty liver problems and whatnot. Again, I'm not going to lie or not going to try and say that there's not other benefits of fruits in some of the other components they have, but we have to be careful with excess fruits. So, I wanted to talk about, I've got to look at my notes. Um, I will put some of these notes. I have a blog post I'll be doing today where it actually gets into some of the actions in the liver and how it's happening. If you're that kind of person and you want to know how does this happen and what are the actions, all of that will go in a blog post later today that you'll be able to go back and read some of this information. But just know that fructose is actually very damaging in high amounts. And because it's dampening your insulin receptors. You're becoming more insulin resistant without spiking your insulin. So if you have one of those glucose monitors and you're like, oh, I can eat apples all day and my glucose doesn't spike. Well, yeah, no, it's not going to, because your body's converting it into fat, especially in the liver. Now, when we have insulin resistance, it's affecting the rest of your fat cells. So there's a difference between the triglycerides that we manufacture and that we eat out of the foods that we eat, and free fatty acids in the system. This all happens in your fat cells. So whether it's visceral fat or subcutaneous fat, as your fat cells start to get full, because insulin, now let's take a step back further. If fructose is causing you to be more insulin resistant, now remember, insulin is going to take all of the excess energy and it's got to put it someplace because you're bringing more energy in. That someplace is your storage unit or your fat cells. Well, just like any storage unit, they can only take so much and then they're full. And you go back to that storage unit and you're trying to cram more in, and the storage unit's like, dude, I'm full. So the doors start to become like they're bursting and you just can't get more in there. Well, one of the things that's happening in your fat cells is as they become more as they're insulin sensitive and bringing in all of this into their cells, they can get to a point where they're just full. So insulin is telling the cell, you will take in this energy. I'm going to bring it and you're going to take it. And the fat cell really can't do anything but take it in. But now the fat cell is full and it's bursting at its seams. So what does it do? Well, it starts breaking down the fats within it and it starts spilling it out into the bloodstream, free fatty acids. So the cells, although insulin is forcing them to take in, at one point they're listening to insulin, but on the second point where insulin is saying, nope, you can't break down that fat, the fat cells are like, to heck with you, I'm going to break down some of this fat in here because you're shoving more in this side. So I'm going to shove more out that side and I'm going to break it down. It's going to go back into the bloodstream as free fatty acids. It's going to cause a blood sugar spike. It's going to cause all of that. Now you start to have A1C and blood sugars that are going up. And it's because of this like tightly connected, the insulin cells are being forced, or the fat cells are being forced to take in energy, but they just can't take more. So they're being a little disobedient and spilling it out because they want to survive. So you can be insulin resistant, and I can't tell you how many times I have this conversation. You can be insulin resistant and not yet be pre-diabetic or diabetic or even have it show up in your labs. So the best way to tell if you're insulin resistant is to just look at your symptoms. All of these up here are symptoms of insulin resistance. If you see yourself in more than 2 or 3 of those, understand that you're suffering with a metabolic problem. If you get the metabolic issue under control, these other symptoms can start to get better. One of the factors in controlling your insulin is going to be controlling the amount of fructose you eat. Understand that no, fructose doesn't directly spike your insulin, but it makes your cells more insulin resistant. And I'm going to keep repeating that. Fructose is making your cells more insulin resistant. So now you're having all of the problems that we talk about with insulin resistance. Now, just like fiber helps glucose from being absorbed too quickly, fiber can help with that fructose, and so that it's not hitting your liver so hard, it's not hitting the small intestine so hard, and that it's helping some of that unusable energy be passed out. And So we're moving it on through the gastrointestinal tract. We need fiber in there. I didn't do a lot of research on the part about fiber and chlorogenic acids and all of that stuff. Just we're going to talk about how it affects insulin resistance and hopefully help you guys understand some of this more. Does anybody have questions about fructose so far? I am not saying fruit is bad. I'm saying let's not take fruit and make it our staple. It was never meant to be our staple. If you look back at our ancestors, we um, we never ate as much fruit as we're trying to eat now. A1C spicy lady, I don't think you have to get rid of your crisp apples. I think you can still have them. Make sure you're getting in fiber and just make sure you're not overdoing them or adding other forms of fructose. So this is when you got to be a label reader, right? Because there's a lot of fructose in a lot of the foods we eat. And they're like, oh, it doesn't spike your insulin because they use fructose instead of glucose, but you're still causing an insulin problem. Oh my God, it gets complicated, right? Well, let's just talk about keeping the insulin under control and all the rest of it. You guys, I'm about a midline approach, a midline approach. I'm not saying go carnivore or go vegetarian or any of that. I just want you to understand that we're out of control with a number of things. If we get those back in our control a little bit, our bodies can actually start to thrive because of it. So, and getting control of fructose is one of them. If you want to have an apple once in a while, have your apple. Don't be afraid of it. That's not my message. My message is don't eat 10 apples in a day and not have proteins and fats and all the other things that your body actually needs, because you're going to get more hungry and you're going to have more diarrhea. Is eating fruit at night bad? I think eating anything within a 3 to 4 hour window before you go to bed is not necessarily positive for your health. Let's think about it. In that 3 to 4 hour period, when you eat, your body is now going to work to digest the food, and your liver is working harder, because, especially with apples, you're talking about, or fruit. And so now, when you're trying to actively rest, your body is working. Why not let your body get through that digestion phase, and then when your gut is being able to rest a little bit, you can go rest and sleep better. I don't like, do I do it? Yes, I oftentimes, not oftentimes, used to oftentimes, now sometimes eat before going to bed, especially when I'm hanging out with family and friends. Bad habits, right? But generally, I try to stop eating by 5 or 6 p.m. I'm in bed around 9:30 or 10. I sleep through the night, and that's it. I don't believe in eating a lot of anything just before bed. I think that's a good way to keep yourself awake and tossing and turning all night. I hope that answers it. So you guys, fructose, and good morning, Dale. It's good to see you. Um, Fructose, when we're having, let's go back to fruit sugars, fruit juice. Well, the biggest reason I hate fruit juice, and I wish we could just remove it from the planet, is that what's in effect happened is you've stripped all the fibers from the fruit to have the juice part, the liquid part. And if you juice at home, you'll have a cup that's all pulp, right? That pulp is the fiber that fruit was providing you to protect you from the onslaught of the fructose hitting your system too harsh and too hard. So if the creator of everything created fruit with all of this fiber attached to it to help us digest it, slow down how quickly we're eating it, why do we feel like we're so much smarter that we're going to go put it in juice and drink it down and call it healthy? Cherries, peaches, bananas. I just loved fruit. I do now try to focus on berries instead. Yeah. And I love cherries. Like, I walked by some cherries last night at the grocery store. We were picking up some things. We had ribs. By the way, our dinner last night was ribs, corn on the cob. My daughter-in-law bought some Hawaiian rolls, so I had one, and a little bit of mac and cheese. Most of my dinner was the ribs and the corn. Um, but do I have the other stuff? Yeah. Yeah. But I saw these cherries at the grocery store and I was so tempted to pick them up. And, again, I think that in moderation, they're fine. But if you really want to focus on your health, some of the things that are going to have less of these sugars, more of the fibers, and more of the components, the vitamins and minerals that you want out of the fruit, focus on berries and pears, because pears are high in chlorogenic acids, which do a lot of great for your body. So I'm glad that you're understanding that. It terrifies me. It's not just that and I don't get mad. I get terrified when I'm traveling and I'm in airports and I see, and I say it because I can actually picture all the times I've been in the airport and there's a grandparent and they won't give their grandchild I just spilled tea all over. They won't give their grandchild diet soda, which I agree is bad and it's inflammatory. But they'll happily give them fruit juice, which is causing non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is causing insulin resistance, which is causing their gut bacteria to be overgrown and probably have gastrointestinal problems and inflammation problems, which can all lead to, the spiral effect, all downhill to other inflammatory issues. It terrifies me when I see grandparents who are following the American dietary guidelines and saying, "Oh, fruits are the big thing we should be eating. They're really healthy for us." And in moderate amounts, they are. But in the high amounts we're being pushed to eat them, they are not. Ditch the fruit juice. If you want to have fruit, have fruit. Have that apple, have the cherries, have the banana once in a while, but don't have it 6 times a day or make it the meal that you have. So I always talk about this story. So I have an itchy eye. Allergies are crazy. My granddaughter, who is now 12, when I was staying with them and she was about 10, I started noticing. I was taking care of them. Their mama had to work late. So there were many nights when I would pick them up from school, take them home, feed them dinner, stay there till mama got home, and then I would go do my thing. But there were nights my daughter called free nights. And so the kids could pick whatever they wanted. She gave them a range of things they could get. And then we would go to the grocery store. I would get that and they would have a simple dinner. Now, the grandson would pick some kind of like lunch meat, which maybe is not extremely healthy either, but at least he was getting in some protein, or he would go to the deli case and get some protein. But my granddaughter, in the effort to be healthy, was grabbing fruit bowls. And she would primarily eat fruit. And then she was drinking a lot of fruit juice at home. And I was terrified. And I kept trying to tell them it was not good. And nobody would listen. But I started noticing signs on her: excess weight, mood problems, um, you know, uh, but the predominant thing for me was that she had these dark skin patches on her elbows and knees. And so I encouraged mom and we went and got her blood work. Now, at that point, at 10 years old, she was not just insulin resistant, she was pre-diabetic. And once we reversed her eating all the fruit all the time and coaxed her into eating more protein, and she actually does the system now, she reversed her prediabetes. She lost a bunch of weight. Her mental clarity came back, her moods came up, her skin cleared up, and a lot of the things that she was suffering with self-esteem issues, started to go away, and she's a very different girl today. But she does the protocol I'm going to talk about, and that helped her. And then she got rid of this constant need for fruit. Now, she'll still eat vegetables and stuff a lot because she just likes them, and I support that. If that's what she wants to eat, then eat that. But stop all the high fruit because it's damaging your liver, your small intestine. It can link to things like heart disease, liver disease, sleep apnea. So fruit, um, good for you in normal amounts. Normal amounts being moderation. Like a piece of fruit a day, a couple pieces of fruit a day may not be bad for you, but when you're eating all fruit all the time, understand that you're overloading your body with a source of sugar that your body cannot use as energy, and that spells problems. Okay, that's why there's this big fructose debate. Now, again, I'm in no way saying that you cannot have it. I'm just saying be aware of what having too much of it can do. And too much of it, especially from fruit juice and smoothies, is causing a lot of problems. Okay, so now back to insulin resistance. Let's talk about that. So I was diabetic, my granddaughter was pre-diabetic, my daughter was diabetic. And so when people say, oh, it's all genetics, Maybe there's some genetic components in there, but the bigger thing I want everybody to understand is that when you have insulin resistance, it's interplaying with the genetic propensity to have any of these disorders. So now you've taken a disorder that can lay latent, or a health issue that can be latent and not really cause you any problems, even if it's a genetic thing, but you add in the food environment that we eat, and now you've set that off through the action of insulin resistance. So, obesity, diabetes do not have to be a genetic, um, sentence to you. So, pay attention to, is it that your family is eating similar foods in similar ways, and now they're all obese and have diabetes? Or is it really just genetics? Yes, exactly. If you're predisposed to having these issues, your eating triggers it. And the truth is, our food has been so messed with, and it's so packaged and processed that our bodies just don't know how to deal with it. So it's like, can you imagine? Let's think of this. I've never, if you walked into a room and you have a light switch to turn the lights on, right? That's great. We have a light switch, we have lights. But now you turn the lights on and there's these switches all over the room, and you're told you got to turn on all these switches, but you don't know what those switches are for. You're just flipping switches around the room. Insulin resistance is running through your body, flipping all those switches to all those things you could get sick from. And now it's kind of boom, here we go. Now you are going to get sick from it because insulin resistance is causing cellular disruption in your body that's setting off the genetic ideal of or the genetic problem of these disorders. So understand that. How do we get control of it? Well, all we really have to do is understand that we're eating too often. We're eating foods that are not really healthy for us anymore. The food industry has stripped us of those good components in our food, either by the way that they're farmed or not, so or processed. I'm going to say I'm rushing through stuff. So what I do is this, and how I reverse my diabetes, my hypertension, got my fatty liver cleaned up. By the way, if you're worried about fatty liver, I'm going to talk about the protocol right now. If you're worried about fatty liver, there are actually studies out there that showed that by reducing this fructose in the diet, by changing the person's diet, that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease was, I have the notes here, was lessened. The effects of the fat in the liver were lessened by 30% within just 6 weeks by making some adjustments and understanding how damaging this stuff can be. So by focusing on things like proteins and fats and healthier forms of glucose, which are not including sucrose and fructose, they were able to reduce fatty liver by 30%. Now, Dr. Ben Bickman, in response to that, said he would assume that in about 6 months, if you continued, you could almost completely reverse the effects of that fatty liver. So there's hope, you guys. Just because you've been taught to eat and drink fruit juice all the time and it's caused damage in your body doesn't mean that you cannot get control of it at some point in time and actually reverse things. Like I just was watching a video and responding to some comments on a video I did about Coach Hoyd, who had stage 3 kidney disease and reversed that. A lot of these things can be reversed when we just put our body in the right environment. Now, a lot of people will say, just eat this, just eat that. But that's really hard for most of us. If that was so simple, then why are all of us so sick? If it was just that simple and the food we have is so good for us, we just are eating the wrong things, why are so many of us so sick? I did all of that for years and didn't get better. I found this system that I'm sharing with you guys, and within a few months, a majority of my health issues started to go away. I reversed my diabetes, I reversed my hypertension. Um, my joint deterioration stopped, my eyesight got better, my bleeding teeth and gums quit, I lost 50 pounds. A number of things happened with my health just by addressing the gaps that our nutritional system has given us. And so this is what it is. A tea in the morning, which is what I'm drinking now, gives me mental clarity, energy, helps my metabolism, helps me kick out ketones. By the way, when I drank this and I'm drinking this, it does not break a fast. It does not break a fast. So I'm in a fasted state now. As normal, dinner was about 5 p.m. and I did have a little treat. We got cupcakes yesterday. So I had a cupcake after. So say 7 p.m. I was done eating. So we're now 14 and a half hours into a fast. I'm not hungry. This is giving me energy, mental clarity. It's helping something called glucagon like peptide in my body be produced naturally and increasing it up to 70%. It's helping my gut microbiome. It's giving me vitamins and minerals. It's helping with oxidative stress by giving me antioxidant properties. It's helping with neuroprotective gene expression in my brain. It's helping me shut down hunger in the brain. It's helping me shut down hunger in my gut. It's freaking amazing. So I drink it twice a day, once in the morning and then this afternoon. If I have any physical slump, energy slump, or I start to feel hungry, I just have another tea and it shuts it down and I'm running through the rest of the day. Yet I sleep extremely well at night. So it's not causing any of those problems. There's a number of components in here I can talk about, like chlorogenic acids and theobromine and mate saponins that are all really healthy for nerve protection, for heart problems, for inflammation, on all of that. So that's all in the tea. Why this tea though? Why this tea? Why not just go out? Why wouldn't you just go out and buy a box of yerba mate tea off the shelf? Or why wouldn't you go buy some of that canned yerba mate you see all over the place? Well, a canned yerba mate tea actually costs more than this one packet. Canned versus this. This costs about $1 less than the yerba mate tea in a can. But here's the thing. This is handpicked. It's extracted, it's concentrated, and then it's taken through a process called hyperpure in a lab in Switzerland. It helps remove PAHs and toxins and from any pesticides or anything that might have landed on this. So now we have something that's extracted, extremely concentrated and highly pure, so concentrated that the chlorogenic acids in this that are creating that satiety and actually getting nutrients to the brain, chlorogenic acids do a lot. It's 375 times more potent in this than in any bagged yerba mate tea. Now, when you look at the bagged yerba mate teas, there's a lot of molds and toxins in those that just are not cleared out because they're just clearing that stuff through. They're not here. They're just here to deliver a product. They're not here to impact your health. So I'm going to drink this all day, every day for the rest of my life. I already have boxes of this packed into my suitcase for the trip I'm taking in a couple of weeks because I will not go anywhere without it. And it makes it simple. When I'm in an airplane, can you imagine if I had to take this on an airplane? Now I'm getting stopped at security. Now I have to scoop and measure this out. It's going to spill everywhere. Look, I don't even use it. It's just here for show. And all of that. Or I carry a bottle very much like this to keep one iced in. I just ask the stewardess for water, or I go up to one of the water stations, put it in, pour this in. I'm good. I'm not steeping tea. I'm not trying to carry liquids through any of that. When I'm ready to eat, even on the airplane, I ask for a little water, put some in this, dump this in. I drink it before I eat. I will be on a plane going from East Coast to West Coast and in airports. Better believe I want this with me. Fits in my wallet. That's it for the day. And I'm good. So that's as easy as it is to get my insulin resistance under control. But more than that, and I just talked about the tea, these two products are what got me off of 13 medications. So let's talk about cost, because that's one of the things that people complain about the most. Oh, it's expensive. It's $5 a day. Now, when I look at $5 a day, what I'm saying is I'm not doing those bagged or canned yerba mate teas or searching for all the other things or Bang Energies or Red Bulls or any of that, because I get plenty of energy without all the negative side effects from this. Okay. It's sustainable. It's portable. I can't take a Red Bull through the airport. I can't have one, it's just not going to happen. You can't do that, right? But I can take these and I can go get water and I can mix it up. I can be on a road trip and stop at a gas station and get a bottle of water and have my energy. Trust me, when I'm driving, I drink a lot of this. If I'm having to sit down because my ADHD, I get tired when I have to listen to somebody talk. I drink a lot of this. And I know that by drinking a lot of it, I'm actually boosting my health. The fiber, we talked about fruit juice being stripped from fructose. And that's why fruit juice, the fruit juice is the fruit stripped of fiber, so you're getting fructose and maybe the vitamins and minerals. But this is putting fiber back in. 5 different types of soluble and insoluble fiber, phytosterols, vitamins and minerals that are all aimed to help your metabolism. It's in fact shown to reduce a glucose spike by 20%. Now, you're not going to see that reduction with fruit, obviously, because it's not spiking your insulin and your glucose response in your bloodstream. But you do know now that adding the fiber in is going to help you with how that fructose is hitting your liver, your small intestine, and the rest of your health. So, the next question I get a lot is, how long do I have to do it? So, for me, this is my life because I know that the foods we're getting today are very different from the foods that I grew up with and that we grew on the small family farm we had up in North Idaho. Yep, I'm a country girl. The foods are very different. And so they're not giving us the nutritional value that we need and should be getting out of our food. These two products are adding back in vitamins, minerals, and a number of components that we need just to allow our bodies to function properly. And all of that is why people are seeing a reduction of insulin resistance, prediabetes, heart problems, liver problems, kidney problems, sleep apnea, joint problems, neuropathies and gout and all of that. By the way, I mentioned gout. One of the biggest drivers for gout, according to these metabolic scientists, is fructose. So the old knowledge, and how many of you guys, if you're dealing with anyone with gout, which is not what this was about, but it links in, have been told to drink cherry juice for your gout? Well, there may be some good components in cherry juice, but understanding now that when you're drinking cherry juice, what you're really getting is a lot of fructose with some of those components that could be helpful to you. But you're getting a lot of fructose in a form that's hitting your liver, shutting your insulin receptors down, and contributing directly to your gout. So it's not just about liver, it's about your gout. Yeah. So stop drinking the cherry juice. You actually cut out. So one of the doctors very specifically said with fatty liver disease, we're going to go back to fatty liver, but gout as well. He tied this in. Your reality is, for you, if you already have gout, if you already have fatty liver, for you, that means, at least for the time being, cut the fruit. Cut the fruit. Let your body heal up, and then you can see if your body can tolerate it later. But excessive fruit with those two conditions, especially, is just going to make the problem worse. And how many of you guys have been told that? Simple thing, right? Now, you're not told to stop eating 6 apples a day or juicing all of your fruit to try and get in all those vitamins and minerals. You're just given a prescription and told, here, take this, it'll get better. If it doesn't, come back, right? And when has those medications outside of like infections, that we've got to get out of the body so we don't die from sepsis, outside of extreme situations like that, when have those medications cured diabetes? When have those medications cured fatty liver or kidney disease or joint deterioration, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, any of that? When have those medications reversed any of that and allowed your body to get better? Or are they just kind of maintaining or slowing down the progression? Instead of maintaining or slowing down the progression or actually worsening other symptoms, wouldn't you rather do something that's more natural, that's actually giving you health on a broad spectrum? And that's exactly what the system does, is it's giving you back the nutrients that you need in your body so that your body can function like it's meant to function. It's so super simple. We've overcomplicated it. Now, the complicated part is how insulin resistance links to all of this stuff and why addressing insulin resistance is making you better. That's the complicated part. The uncomplicated part is addressing it. Addressing it doesn't have to be hard. Addressing it is as easy as live your life understand some simple concepts and put back what's been stripped out so that your body can now deal with the form of food we have today. And that's important because it's not just about, oh, I'm going to go vegan or I'm going to go carnivores. Probably that's a whole other topic, but it's not just about that. And if it was that simple, again, if it was that simple, why aren't more of us doing better? Why aren't more of us feeling so much better from the medications and all the doctor's visits and all the crazy stuff you're getting told to do? And they're a bandage that covers it up and you won't see it. Exactly. Exactly. So this is why I love this system so much and why it just like when I get messages from you guys, poof, I got goosebumps, you guys. You have no idea how much you and it's not even about you listening to me, it's about you listening and being able to impact your health and get better. Like as a child, I haven't told this story in a long time, so many of you probably have never heard of it. As a child, I we grew up in North Idaho, I've mentioned that. We went from living in a double wide trailer house to building our own house. It was a basement, a main floor, and an upstairs. And so while we were building out the upstairs, we lived in the basement. Um, and my bed was open to the living room and all of that. So I would sneak out of bed in the morning and I would go out to our little garden. And I don't know why I chose the garden, but I just felt comfortable in the garden. And I would kneel down and pray. And my prayer was, God, just let me go help people. Take me, put me where I can be of use. And I went through a lot of abuse as a child. So part of the prayer was, my family's not going to miss me. Let me go help. Yeah, Ro, I think hugs are the most healing thing we can do outside of giving our body nutrition. And I love giving big hugs because that's when you're really making a connection and sharing your energy with others. And I appreciate your hug back, Ro. Most beautiful times I've had in my life are hugging amazing people. You're going to make me cry. But I used to go out in the garden and I would pray for God to just take me and let me be used to help people. One of my other goals, and I realized this the other day when I met Steffi, if you guys know Steph Koch, 1111, she's one of my besties. Um, I had wanted to be a speaker. I wanted to get on stage and speak to people. And so Ro knows the method, this visioneering thing we do. One of my visions was to be speaking to thousands of people and impact lives in a real way. And this last year, it's dawned on me in a very different way than I planned, but maybe in a way that God planned. I'm actually doing what I envisioned. And I'm so thankful for all of you for giving me the platform. You are the reason I get to be here and speak. And so I just want to stop and say thank you. And the experts say hug for many seconds, not just a quick squeeze. Yes, yes. And so, A1 Spicy Lady, if we ever meet, I would love to get a hug. You guys, those I cannot tell you how much I believe in the healing properties of hugs. And when we get down to it, this is nothing to do with the system, but I do believe that all illness starts with emotion and we just are so isolated that we're not getting emotional release and that's causing a lot of dysfunction in the body. So that combined with just giving our body what we need nutritionally, all of these things lead to better health, right? And so I look forward to giving you a hug one day. I hopefully we get to meet in Row. The next time I go to an event, I would love to get another big hug from you. Melba, we need to meet sometime and get hugs as well. I can imagine you give great hugs too. So you guys, the system, if you want your health back, like Rose gotten hers, like Jamie talked about with his, um, like I've been talking about with mine, the simple truth is none of the medications ever helped me. The medical medium and this whole, it's all Epstein-Barr virus. None of that helped me. None of the other things helped me. The only thing that really moved my needle on my health was understanding, or at the first, I didn't even understand insulin resistance. I didn't understand any of it. I knew I had diabetes. I knew I needed to lose weight. I knew I was losing joints. I knew I had to have a hernia surgery. I knew that my health was failing. I knew my blood pressure was out of control. But for me, under the pressure of all of those things that I was suffering with, the one thing I knew was that I had to address my diabetes. And Lord only knows I never thought I would end up with a diabetes diagnosis, but there I was. This one thing is the only thing that changed my health and reversed my diabetes. So Rose says her A1C was over 14. I thought mine was bad at 7.4. In 4 months, hers went down to 5.9, unmedicated. Mine went from 7.4 down to 6.3 because I didn't do the system perfectly. You guys, we'll talk about that later, but I had an imperfect food situation when I started. I still was able to take my A1C from 7.4 to 6.3, and then within 6 months down to 5.6, and now it's at 5.3. Um, You guys, I love and I was speaking with a school teacher yesterday, and if you're on the live this morning, bless your heart for calling me and talking to me and just sharing the accolades you gave me yesterday. You guys, those things coming from a girl, this is going to be vulnerable. Coming from a girl, and I love my mama, but we didn't always have the best relationship, and every parent has made mistakes. I'm going to start with that. I love my mama. But at one point in our history, she would continually tell me, "You're never going to amount to anything. You're never going to be anything. Never, nobody's ever going to want to hear from you. Um, you're never going to succeed at anything in life. You're just, you just basically go over in the corner and be quiet." So getting accolades, you guys have no idea how much that means to me. Okay. I became a world champion powerlifter. I won 4 world championships. At that point in my story, I became that world champion when I realized I could become a world champion to disprove that message that had been given to me that I wasn't worth anything and I would never achieve anything. So standing on the world platform and having a gold medal draped around my neck 4 different times, that was amazing. But you know what was more amazing is the realization that I never needed to do all of that because my worth wasn't measured in the way that I'd been told it was. However, you guys' appreciation is so appreciated by me. You have no idea how important it is. With that, I want to encourage you to and I try to make this part of my life now too. I actually learned it from a toxic ex-boyfriend. That's hilarious that he taught me something. But everybody can bring something good to our lives, right? But when I'm out and about, I try to, especially if I see somebody who's looking anxious or rushed or hurt, or maybe they're just having something go on in their life. I try to find something to, whether it's the smile on their face or their hair or the clothes they wear or the way they walk, whatever. I find something to say something nice to them and know that in that small moment, it maybe helped impact someone else. Because I know there were a lot of times where I could have used just that word or two to help me feel better. So please don't forget that in your day. Okay. Your mama told you the similar, told you you were crazy and no one would ever marry me. Yeah, so in extreme vulnerability, you guys, right now, extreme vulnerability, not many people know this. I was very promiscuous is the word I was looking for as a young adult. Part of that was because I'd been told that nobody would want me except for sex. I went through a lot of abuse as a child and some of that. So there was a paradigm that I thought that the only way people would love me was through that. And so those messages can be very damaging, and it's really important to find joy in people, find good in people, because you never know what they've been through, what they've experienced, and what's heavy on their heart that day. So I'm sorry you had to go through that, A1 Spicy Lady. I totally get it. Thankfully, at this point in my life, I don't focus on those stories anymore. I'm thankful to be to a point where I can say, I don't want to focus on the past. I mean, the past is only there to help me know what to do better with, but it's not a place to focus and put my attention. My future and what I'm building is where I want to pay my attention and impacting beautiful lives like all of you guys. Okay. So that's the Misha moment for today. You guys, I appreciate you so much. If you want the system, if you want to actually get control of your health, I'm here for you. I would love for you to try the system. Just do it for 90 days. um, because it's the one thing and the only reason I'm here talking about it. Look, I got paid to be in a medical office. I got paid to do tests and give shots and do all of the stuff and call people and talk to them about their health and the recommendations the doctor gave. And I would often talk to the doctor and say, hey, I know this and this and this can help. Can I talk to him about it? And the doctors, I would say 99% of the time said, yeah, go ahead, because they knew that it was based in science. But I know that most of us are suffering and we just want to feel better. This one thing is what really moved the needle for my health and is helping me make the impact in the world that I want to make. So give it 90 days. It will start to change your health. You will start to notice better energy, better sleep, some of those things that are going on, depending on what you need. And I'll be here to help you through it. Just use the link in my bio and just let me know. I will see it when it comes through. I'll send you text. You'll get my phone number. You get to just contact me whenever you need. Just text me first, and I'm here to help. Let's get you feeling better and in a way that can maybe help you get off of all your medications like I did. I think Ro did too. I know Jamie has. Jamie tests his blood sugars every morning, and he's just amazed at how well his blood sugars are controlled now with no medications, just by doing the same thing I do, a tea in the morning and a pre-meal drink before I eat. Simple. And it's really just giving you back components that were stripped out of our diet so your body knows what to do with the food we're putting in. Now, um, that's that. Tomorrow, I know that I had made a note. I can't remember what I'm talking about tomorrow. I got to go back to my notes from yesterday, but we'll wrap up the week talking about one more thing. If you guys have things you want me to talk about, when I look through all these tiles I've created, I do want to come back to heart health. So maybe I'll do that on Monday because I think it's so important. And in my talk about heart health and how insulin resistance affects your heart, it starts to make sense to a lot of other things because there's a lot in there about what's happening to your vascular system, your blood flow, and your heart when you have insulin resistance. And that leads into so many other things. So I keep talking and talking. Yes, I'm in a talking mood, but I do want you to understand this. This system is what I say. It clears the elephant out of the room with your health situations so that now you can see what may really be going on. Get rid of the trigger. And then in a few months, when all of these other things have started to fall away, you can work out what's actually going on. So for me, my joints stopped failing and I no longer have to have the joint replacements I was looking at a couple of years ago. My eyesight reversed. I had to buy new glasses because the diopter on these glasses is about half of what it was 10 years ago, 3 years ago even. My teeth and gums stopped bleeding, all of that. But give it 90 days and see where your health is. You have hypothyroidism, hypotension, hypoglycemia, what are you talking about? Um, Lacey, you know what? Bless you. I have never gone on somebody else's live to promote my own stuff. That's a whole different mindset that I just don't get. Like that doesn't speak very well for me in my autistic reality. That does never speaks well when somebody comes on to my talks where I've just spent an hour and days of research to give people information to try and tell people to do something different. That's a weird mindset. Okay. All right, you guys, we'll see you all tomorrow. And yeah, God bless every one of you. I hope that you get your health back. I hope that you give this system a shot because it really has helped a number of people. We'll see you in the morning. I'm sure I will figure out what I promised I would talk about tomorrow and we'll go over it as well as more information about the system. And in the meantime, reach out if you need something. We'll talk to you later. Have a good day.